Mic. Camera. Action.
For the last time, Miss Crawley, I'm not going to fire you. How would you pull yourself together and please blow that nose of yours? No, not in here. Blow it outside. Thank you.
Buster, what do you expect? She's like 200 years old.
Eddie, please, look, if your folks could just loan me the money until...
$100,000? Buster, come on.
Whew, I've got to think. I've got to come up with
maybe it's time to stop thinking and it's time to just move on. I mean, this theater of yours, you could get some decent money for it and, I don't know, maybe we could do something together.
What? What, sit around playing video games? Yeah. Do you know what that is?
It's a bucket?
Yes, and do you know why I have this bucket?
Because the roof is leaking?
No, that's the bucket for the leak. I have this one because it belonged to my father. Every day for 30 years, he worked his tail off washing cars just so I could buy this place. Every day, Eddie. Just for me.
Wow. Sounds like a great dad. So how do you want to handle this?
Oh, Mr. Moon, I got Judith from the bank holding on line 2 again.
Well, there's only one thing I can do.
All right. Welcome back to Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue from past debut through to present day in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the focused filmography and consider how it ranks amidst their career and whether we can trace any typecasting trends on topic traits or theatrical tics. Today, I'm joined by frontman Blake Byles to discuss McConaughey's vocal performance in Garth Jennings' animated jukebox musical Sing from 2016. We watch, you listen, and hopefully watch along too. Evening, mate. We were just talking before recording, like it's the first time we've got together in quite a while, so it's great to see you, and something a little bit different for us to discuss as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's good to be here. We've teed this up quite a while ago, and glad to be here and chat about a family favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it must be. I mean, it's certainly over a year, probably getting on for 18 months since I started season 2. I should probably know that, but I don't. And you were quite keen on jumping on this one when I sent the initial list out. So it was obviously one which you were looking forward to talking about. And it's weirdly McConaughey's second animated movie in the year of 2016.
Yeah.
He's done nothing up until this point, and suddenly, and I want to talk about that in terms of a comparison point later.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the star himself, like how well versed in the McConaughey world are you? Like Staith, you came with some really good opinions and you knew kind of the arc of his career, I think. How do you feel about McConaughey? Are you in a similar position, or is he a bit more of a actor that you've dipped in and out of, I suppose?
Yeah, I think it's probably similar to the Staith. It was quite incidental, the stuff I watched. Like, it's not something I really sought out. When you put the list out, I jumped on a few because there was only like a very few that I'd seen. This was like one that stood out. I'm trying to think back. Signs? No, not Signs. What's the one? Rain of Fire was the one. And,
okay, yeah.
Frailty, that jumped out.
Excellent, yeah.
Then there's all the like rom-com stuff that I kind of knew him for that I didn't go near, to be honest. And then the Reconnaissance, I suppose, is where I saw a whole bunch more. You know, Interstellar and Dallas Buyers Club, obviously. But yeah, this one really jumped out. You said, when did you start teeing this up? About 18 months ago,
I reckon. Yeah,
and yeah, Sing just really jumped out because it's been like a family favorite. I've got kids. They're 7 and 4. But this was huge. This was huge in our house a couple of years ago. And so interestingly, in the you know as a father yourself, as a family, and like the interest, so you get something that's really hot and then it gets dropped, they get older onto the next thing. And so Sing hasn't really played much of a presence in our life for some time, and so it was actually really sweet. We just watched it back tonight just to refresh my memory, but also quite interesting to see the kids' reaction to it again, which we can get into a bit more later on.
Yeah, that's lovely. I think when they're into something, you yourself get bored of it because you're on your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Oh my God, sing again. All right. So it is nice when it goes away and then you come back to see how they've changed and what their interaction with it is different. Do they find the same things funny?
Yeah.
Where their sense of humor is developed, but where their sense of deeper understanding as well. Even at 7 and 4, I bet you've probably seen something between when it was the hot property in your house compared to now. There's probably some of the levels of stuff that is more apparent to them. I don't know if that's true. What do you think?
Well, we just watched it and they've just gone to bed. I'd really be keen to talk to my eldest son Arlo about what he remembers, or it was a lot of it was about what he remembered. But now, tomorrow, it'd be nice to talk to him about what's new. Like you say, the understanding, the kind of social awareness will have changed. Yeah, I remember when we first started watching, I'm really kind of skeptical about kids' films, a bit cautious about. I find a lot of modern kids' films really hyperactive and kind of overstimulating, but then you go back to show them the classics, and then it's just oh, this hasn't quite aged as well as I remember. So yeah, I'm always quite a bit trepidatious about kids' films, and when we first put this on, back in the day, I was a bit cautious. But you labeled it as a jukebox musical, and that's something that really stood out to me. Quite early on, the music that was playing, I was like, oh, actually, I could get some joy out of this myself. There's some good tunes in here. Similar to Trolls. I don't know if you've watched any of the Trolls films.
I haven't, no.
So they admittedly they are a bit more overstimulating, but they have some good tunes in them, and it's that kind of jukebox medley it's kind of playing to parents of our age, nostalgia. But I really liked it, and I think in part that's where Sing kind of got in high rotation for us, because it was a nice bit of musical education for my kids. I'm kind of one of those dads where my kids just listen to music that I like. They have Radiohead shirts and things like that. So yeah, films like this, films like Trolls, they were kind of a nice way to give them a bit of education on some good music.
Yeah, that's a nice way to think about it. I hadn't thought about that. When you consider some of the artists that were involved in this, and there's quite an interesting bit of trivia about how they picked the songs and how much they cost and all that we'll talk about. But there's a broad range of artists. You do have that kind of cheesy pop, don't you? But then you go all the way through to kind of actual 50s, 60s, 70s classics as well that are being sung in this. So it really is a case of trying to cover decades and genres and all types of music, even if it's just for very brief snippets. It's a lot of it is in the audition scenes, isn't it? Where you get this whole host of animals auditioning to be in this X Factor style show, Pop Idol style show. I'm not sure across the world what all these shows are called. American Idol, I suppose, and I don't know. What would it have been back in your home country, mate? What would have been there?
Well, we had an Idol Got Talent kind of
okay,
it's a franchise type thing. But that was one of the things that made me really cautious at the start. Because at first, the opening theatre thing, the singing of Nana Noodleman, it's oh wow, this is stunning. And we're a theatre family. My wife has always worked in theatre, and so we've always really encouraged theatricality and performance and artistic things. So at first it was like really cool, and then the suggestion of like a music competition came up, and I was just like, oh god, it's gonna some, you know, like Simon Cowell kind of, or like all the contestants have to have some like heart-taking backstory. It just, but it wasn't like that, you know. Like to be fair, it's the music. You said like it's a broad range of time. It's quite broad entertainment, but it has. I have a soft spot for it.
Yeah, I mean, to give it credit where it's due, I mean, I think this film is very average at best, if I'm honest. I've watched it twice now. I watched it with my youngest a few years ago again, and then we watched it last night, and I think both times he's enjoyed it, but he's not got taken with it, really. He did go and see the sequel, to be fair, in the cinema with his mum. I've not seen that yet. But it does shy away, and I think correctly, from doing those obvious, as you said, like Simon Cowell parodies, or like having so many of these shows, they rely on the idea of like embarrassing the contestants. They make a laughing stock of them. Like this film kind of
thing. Yeah,
exactly. This kind of avoids that, doesn't it? It's Buster Moon, who is just Matthew McConaughey's character, who's a koala that I definitely want to talk about. The fact that he's a koala. And he, generally speaking, is actually quite a positive, supportive presence for the most part. I think he's not there to, other than when he's kind of in his own slump. But like the way he interacts with Mina, the elephant, generally speaking, other than that one moment, he does try and support her and get her to shine. And so there is it doesn't do that thing that I was worried about it doing, which was let's take exactly. Let's take the piss out of these animals and let's be really broad stereotypes and have wolves howling and whatever it might be. It kind of shows that all shapes and all sizes have talent and have something that is worth giving to the world, which is a nice message for younger kids to hear, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, as kind of broad as it is, and it doesn't have particularly unique storylines, the themes that it does have of like leaning into the situation, you're like trying your best, and lifting other people up and coming together as a team, that's kind of admirable. And that was something that we kind of celebrated over the years of watching the film. It was always really nice. Arlo always like latched on to the Johnny character. And as you can see behind me, we've got the leather jacket that we were talking about earlier. And he would sing the songs, the Elton John, I'm Still Standing. And he'd always forced me to, you can see on my label here, I'm labeled as Johnny's dad. Because he'd always get me to do the Johnny and his dad scene where the dad's in jail. And while Johnny's performing, and Johnny's dad has never believed in this artistic pursuit. For those who haven't watched the film, I'm not quite sure why you're listening to this, but here we go. And so he'd force me to do the Johnny, my son, and then I'd have to break out of jail and then like jump around the living room, like trying to make it to the theater in time. While he's pretending to do his Elton John song, and we'd always have to finish on he'd get me to get down on my knees and look him in the eye and to say, I'm so proud of you.
I love it. Great impressions, mate, by the way.
It was so, I've done it so many times. But it was really sweet. It always kind of bring a tear to my eye. And it's like, when your kids want you to do that and they see that kind of in you, and they want to be so like, they're so like not self-conscious at that age. So, and for it, like, just as a dad, I was just always really kind of, I'll take as many of those moments as I can get. And going back to like these days, a little bit more social awareness, a little bit more like trying to be cool or whatever. It's watching it back tonight. He was like, first he was like, sing, but then like we were watching it and he was kind of locked in. And I'd be like, do you remember this one, Bubby? Do you remember this one? Yeah, I remember it. And then when I was looking up and reading a bit of trivia afterwards, I told him, there's actually going to be a Sing 3. And he says, when? And I say, 2017. And he goes, like he was all gutted.
Got to wait that long. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice to kind of see, the interests kind of shift and they go on to new things, but there's something still quite special there at heart.
Oh, that's lovely. I've got a couple of those. Like you were talking about music and how, we're probably pretty similar with music because, we'll be the DJs of the house thanks. But with films as well, like we'll watch whatever they want to watch, but I do want to introduce the classics. My eldest is 13, nearly 14.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been through that period of like, we've watched all the Back to the Futures, all the Star Wars, all the InGen. So we've done all of the kind of the classic franchises. And I've got like kind of keynote memories you were talking about, being in the park, him with the Captain America shield and me with the Thor hammer, doing that from the first Avengers. You want me to put the hammer down? And like going out dressed up as Indiana Jones and going treasure hunting. And it's so nice, isn't it? Like those memories will stay with me, as I'm sure your Sing one will, just absolutely to the day I go, I hope.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. having that sense of play and kind of creativity, and throwing yourself out there as well. Like if you can kind of be silly, it kind of gives them license to stay silly as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Choreographed lightsaber fights in the middle of a playground with full view of all the other parents and kids. Yeah, let's just go for it, son. Let's have fun. Why not?
Well, that's the thing you talk about. Well, you bring up lightsabers. That's the thing. Like Star Wars, pretty shortly after Star Wars, Sing and things like that, Star Wars came into the picture, and that's just that's everything now. That's all the imaginary games with this, like they force choke each other and everything. It's a bit like when the other parents and kids around, it's like, oh, but no, it was nice to be able to dial it back a little bit and come back to something a bit more innocent for an evening. Yeah, absolutely. And the way that the film sets itself up is to present everybody has a kind of arc, don't they? But everyone's kind of a hero character in their own story as well, which I think is really nice. And they have to kind of overcome something. So as we're talking about like the meshing, like all the way through, it's all really positive. You have like Buster's our main character, that's McConaughey, isn't it? And he has to like keep believing in his dreams. That's like really important for him, isn't it? That he has to keep pushing forwards and like takes knock after knock, but then to keep putting himself out there and keep kind of reaching for the stars, which is quite a classic arc, I suppose. But then everyone has their own little ones, don't they? Like Reese Witherspoon's Rosita the pig, this idea of like she's more than just a mother at home. Scarlett Johansson's Ash, which, she's more than just a girlfriend to the rock star. She's got talent in her own right. As you said, you've got Taron Egerton's Johnny the gorilla, who wants to be himself and not be forced down the path of his father's, as it is in this movie, like kind of criminal lifestyle. Each of these characters have their journey, don't they? The only one that I don't really enjoy is Mike the Mouse, the Seth MacFarlane character. He feels like he's out of a different movie. It doesn't fit in this film at all. I wonder if in some ways because it's played by Seth MacFarlane, right? Like having a big character in the animated world is probably a win. But also, when you talk about those different characters, a lot of it is about like unrealized potential, isn't it? They have the dream, but there's been something that hasn't got there for them. And so maybe it's okay that he's an outlier, and he provides a little bit of something else, like the threat, his kind of gambling ways provides a foil for the gang and a couple of different instances. But also it is nice that he has a turning point as well, where because he's always deriding the other singers and performers. But then when the elephant, what's the elephant's name?
Mina,
when Mina, who's kind of like the biggest one to kind of come out of her shell and in many ways is the biggest talent, it's like the uncut diamond, or that type of thing. When she finally performs, he just melts, like he's because even when he comes back, he leaves, doesn't he? But even when he comes back to perform, it's just like an ego thing, like I'll show you guys. So it's only like it's kind of like a last minute win, but it happens still, nevertheless.
It does. Yeah, that's a really nice way to put it. I just, like I say, it feels like maybe that's the adult section of the movie, that's the adult character for the grown-ups watching it. Like, oh yeah, this is fun, isn't it? He's doing Frank Sinatra and he's a crooner and he's got that tough lifestyle. Maybe they thought that was the draw for the grown-ups, but I haven't seen it yet, but I noticed that he is not back in Sing 2. So maybe the general consensus was that he was the least interesting, didn't fit in kind of with the gang very well character.
Well, I mean, you always get the kind of bad boy character in these team things, don't you? And so maybe he just provided that aspect, but once it became a success, as it did, they thought that they didn't need him anymore.
Yeah, fair. I also found it quite weird it being Seth MacFarlane. I don't want to harp on too much about this one character, but because it sounds like he's doing Steve Buscemi.
Oh, really?
To me, I was like, why is Seth MacFarlane doing an impression of Steve Buscemi doing a Frank Sinatra song? So I was like, just get Steve Buscemi, because that's much more interesting, or get Seth MacFarlane to do, find his own. I don't know, maybe it was just me that was reading that into it, but I kept hearing Steve Buscemi whenever he was on screen talking. Anyway,
That's so funny. I've never heard that before. I feel like it sounds like Seth MacFarlane, but just a bit squeakier because of the mouse aspect too, right? But I do know that like Seth MacFarlane is like, I think his Frank Sinatra is an impression he's been going on doing for years, you know. So maybe in some ways it was like, oh, we know a guy in the animation world, and he does great. He does a great singer, like a famous singer. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. And that is another aspect you just brought up there that's interesting, is that everybody that's in this does do their own singing as well, don't they? So each actor, although they're employed for their recognizable voices and you instantly hear ScarJo and you hear Reese Witherspoon and you know it's them, they do perform all their songs as well, which is great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Some of them I'd heard sing before, like Scarlett Johansson. I think, you know, I knew that she'd released an album before and things like that. Some of them are specifically singers. But yeah, that Taron Egerton, he's got a fantastic voice. And I think since then, I think he did this beforehand, right? But he went on to do Rocketman and things like that, right?
It's a pretty good audition, isn't it? This movie for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Because then, of course, he was acting alongside Elton John in the Kingsman sequel.
Yeah.
So it was almost as if like the dominoes were really stacking up. Because I think originally it was going to be, who did I read? It was going to be Justin Timberlake was the original choice for Rocketman. Yeah, because of course he played Elton John in a music video, hadn't he?
Oh, really? I didn't know that. And I mean, coincidentally, Justin Timberlake is in the Trolls films. So
okay,
maybe he kind of got his fix there instead.
Yeah, small world for all of that, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the cast is stacked, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know how much it must have cost for all of that, but there's some big names in there.
There really is, yeah. I mean, even down to you've got Jennifer Saunders, who's been in Shrek movies as well, so people would know her voice if they don't know her from a UK centric stuff. But Nick Kroll, Peter Serafinowicz, Leslie Jones. I don't know how big she was at this point, but she's gone on to be a big success as well. So yeah, all the way through the cast from kind of top to bottom, isn't it? There's quite a lot of names. It was one of my thoughts actually, was like, I wonder which costs more, like this stacked cast or this like the budget for the music clearance, because that must have been astronomical as well. So I did a little bit of research. I don't know if you looked into it as well.
No.
About that. So the budget for this is 75 million, which for the cast and the number of songs in it feels pretty reasonable, actually.
I was surprised when I saw that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's 60 plus songs in this, and each of them are an already produced hit that they've had to get the clearance for.
Yeah.
So I read that 15% of that budget went just on music clearance alone. So just over 11 million.
Wow. Yeah. I suppose it must, like, them doing a cover version probably helps, right? Like it must be a fraction of using the actual songs. But yeah, still, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. But by the time, as you said, like that 11 million is already gone. Then they pay McConaughey and Witherspoon, Scarlett Johansson. This is peak Avengers time, isn't it, for her as well? So these people come at a pretty good cost, I would have thought. Seth MacFarlane is a big name, really, isn't he, as well, to be perfectly honest?
Yeah.
So yeah, 75 feels
one of the few ones. This is one of the few ones, or if one of the only ones, where Seth MacFarlane has kind of gone outside of his own, production company, I suppose. So
that's true. Yeah,
it's interesting. I would have been interested to like hear how some of them got into it. Like, was it just a straight up cold call casting thing? How they got drawn to something like this.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I found. I watched a few kind of behind the scenes videos on YouTube and read a couple of articles, one with the director, but they were all very kind of puff piecey. They were kind of
so there's be any hard hitting kind of interviews with this, is there? Yeah.
No, like about the regime that McConaughey got used to get down to his Dallas Buyers Club weight. Unfortunately, none of that was here. So,
he was on a strict diet of eucalyptus leaves or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I was just going to say that there's a few of them that I recognize from Saturday Night Live from that era. Maybe just they had the same agent or something like that. Peter
got him in a job lot, right?
Yeah, exactly. Serafinowicz was an interesting one. I think he's a great, because I don't know how well known he is in the States. But yeah, he's an interesting one.
But he has been kicking around doing voice work and doing stuff low level because he's Darth Maul, right, in Phantom Menace. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he's the voice of Darth Maul. So he has been around doing kind of voice work and stuff for a while. But I think you're right. But he himself as an actor perhaps isn't known.
Yeah. Well, he does such great characters. So good.
Yeah, he does. I know we've got that UK Saturday Night Live now, which I've not watched, nor do I think will I. But he would have been, if it had been around at that time and it would have been good, he would have been that sort of person that would have been an absolute star on that show. Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, there's even big names that just going to have the smaller parts as well. Like Nick Offerman, for example, is Norman, who's Reese Witherspoon's husband. So not a lot to say there. And in many ways, maybe that's where we're thinking it should cost more because it's got so many big names. But actually, with these ensemble movies, the recording time is probably relatively short.
Yeah, turn up for a day probably for some of these people. Yeah,
for sure.
And they were some of the things I did see where there was a lot of kind of showing the actors behind the scenes and how they were getting into kind of role and how they were performing. It was quite nice to see, actually. Obviously, particularly with our guy McConaughey, who we'll get onto in a second, like how much movement he had and kineticism he had when he was doing the voice. Often in my head, I kind of just see people probably in a booth standing there, but most of them, to be fair, Taron Egerton especially, he was full on. I don't know if you watch the same things. He was full on in a gorilla pose, and you could see that he was using his kind of body and his mannerisms to help him get into kind of a mental space of a character to find the right voice, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I suppose the anthropomorphic animal thing probably lends itself to that as well, doesn't it? Like you were saying earlier about not having too many stereotypical things, but there's probably ideas that these actors have about the embodiment of an animal, anthropomorphic animal.
Yeah, definitely. McConaughey was all hands because I guess Buster's a big personality and he talks a lot, doesn't he? And so, whereas Edgerton was all big shoulders and hanging arms, and it was nice to see actually how that process works. It was interesting. But so let's talk about our man McConaughey then. And I mentioned at the top about the fact that he's a koala. What do you think? Is that a good fit for his voice? I'm not sure. He was cast by Garth Jennings. He was high up on the list, I think, for this role.
Right.
He said he wanted somebody. What did he say about him? He said somebody who can present infectious optimism with his voice. So McConaughey was somebody that he thought could do that. But I agree, he does that as the character. But does Texas drawl infectious optimism suit a koala?
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually have one of the kids' Buff Moon soft toys here, so let me have a look. It's really interesting, and it makes me think. I used to think why McConaughey, it's a bit of a strange role for him, but watching it tonight and kind of thinking about this stuff and what you've just said, it does make sense. He does have this infectious charm, and in fact, I was reading tonight that two of the other options, you say McConaughey was high on the list. Two of the other options, you probably read this as well. One was Johnny Depp, and the other was Jesse Eisenberg. And from all these years of wondering, well, it wasn't plaguing me, right? But why McConaughey? I would choose McConaughey over those other two. I feel like Johnny Depp's Buster Moon would have been a bit sleazy. And Eisenberg's Buster Moon would have been a bit more neurotic. And so that Buster Moon's voice and his cadence is a bit, I don't want to say naff, but then Buster Moon's a bit naff, so maybe that's okay. His voice breaks a little bit and he's just so wow, so eternally optimistic.
Yeah.
More so than McConaughey usually is. He's usually got that long, slow drawl. That Jim Carrey parodies, and was it those Lincoln ads? Did you ever see those?
Yeah.
Time the reconnaissance, and Jim Carrey nails it. It was so funny. So I could get on board with McConaughey after all this time, but koala. It's a bit funny because I know how much you know about koalas, but they are not that energetic.
Sure, yeah. And not that cuddly, as far as I understand, as well.
No, and Buster Moon's eyebrows are always like raised up, like he's really gleeful. But when you look at koalas, they look really surly and they look drunk. And actually, because they are, I believe, I've read this years ago. I mean, don't quote me, I'm no Attenborough, but I believe that they get stoned off of the eucalyptus that they eat.
Okay, nice.
So that's why they're always kind of clinging to the tree. And they're rife with chlamydia as well. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't. I was about to say I'm going to come back as a koala, and then I did in the chlamydia bit. And I thought, maybe not.
So yeah, I hope this isn't a family a family episode. But yeah, don't look that one up. But yeah, the koala is a bit strange, but it does look cute as a soft toy. So
and he's a great character, and I think it actually suits McConaughey. I agree with everything you said there, but I think it suits him actually, interestingly, slightly more than Kubo did. Although he's good in both movies because he's always good. But I think the way that his voice matches with the character and what they're saying and doing, I think here matches slightly better than something that was, Japanese inspired, and he was a beetle and a samurai, and
sometimes people feel a bit shoehorned in, don't they? And
yeah, that one felt more of like stunt casting than this one does, is what I would say.
At first, I thought it was a bit more stunt casting, but over the years, I've kind of warmed to the idea. Yeah.
And Johnny Depp is an interesting one. You're right, I did read that, but thank you for those two names because I'd forgotten them. Because I also read that to begin with, Buster Moon was going to be a bit more of like a con manny charlatan character.
Yeah, because they mention that, don't they? That was the threat. That was the kind of accusations that were put upon him.
So maybe that was the Johnny Depp. Maybe when it was that version of the character, that was, Johnny Depp would be good at giving us that, as you said, giving us a bit more of the sleaze, a bit more of that side of the character. And as they moved away from that and made him this more optimistic, charming, happy-go-lucky guy, McConaughey came into the picture. Maybe it's these different iterations they've had in the writing.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
like maybe McConaughey had a hand in that. Like, I'll play this, but I want it to be more of a warm kind of, what's his just keep living or whatever, like that. Optimistic.
Yeah. And he was very active in Kubo in this, and finding that he's seeking these roles at this point in his career. He really wants to kind of find that next thing that he hasn't done and think about the kind of genre of movies that might be new for him. He's got kids now, so much like we do, let's find the movies that we want to watch with our kids. He's like, let's find the movies I want to make that I can show to my kids. It makes perfect sense. And I think he does a good job. I think the character I most related him to whilst watching this time, and I don't know if you watched this show. Do you watch Only Murders in the Building?
No, I'd like to though. But go on.
Okay. So I just got real Oliver Putnam vibes, which is the Martin Short character in Only Murders in the Building. That this kind of, like you say, like theatrical director, but like kind of big mannerisms, like is a failed theatre director essentially, which is very similar to Oliver Putnam in Only Murders, but still kind of will just relentlessly believe and just be hopeful and just know the next big break is around the corner. And they're very similar characters, which is interesting. And actually, Martin Short would have been a great choice to do the voice.
I was thinking just the same. Yeah, or if there's like a live action version or something. Like, yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
Little exuberant, like over the top kind of guy.
Yeah. So it's quite an interesting parallel, which I don't think Only Murders was out at this point. So whether Steve Martin watched this and was inspired to write that character, I don't know. But McConaughey does fit the role well, and I think that disparity between voice and animal aside, I think what he does with the character really is a good through line for this story. It's a good through line for the journey, and his relentless optimism is what kind of, other than the one low point in the story when he gets pulled down when the theatre breaks, his relentless optimism is the thing which helps keep putting everyone through, isn't it? So having somebody with their motto of just keep living that everyone finds charming and fun is definitely the right choice, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think he needed that slump as well, because the relentless optimism, while it's endearing, sometimes it's just a bit too much as well. So you get to the point where Scarlett Johansson's Ash, the porcupine, I believe she's a porcupine, she's a bit of a punk rocker, and she's kind of going through her own journey, finding her own voice, stepping out of the shadow of her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, and Buster Moon wants to kind of foist these kind of pop hits on in this kind of really naff femininity.
Yeah.
She just wants to be herself, right? And he's like not seeing her. You know, he's really trying to pump her up in this way in his dream, but I guess he, in his journey as well, through the highs and the lows, he kind of sees that he can have that optimism, but like it be a more collaborative thing. Like he kind of gets out of his own way a little bit, and can take the lead from other people. You know, like his discovery of Mina's true voice, I think really helps him in that journey.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, so he does have his own arc as well, doesn't he? Along with everyone else in terms of finding who he needs to be for this to be a success. And like I say, without knowing where the story goes in Sing 2, we're left in a very positive place. It feels very Muppets. You know, like save the group, work together to save the theatre. It's a classic kind of Muppet trope, isn't it? I think even that first relaunched Muppets movie with Jason Segel was that exact plot, I think.
Yeah. There's that variety show. Yeah. Kind of a nostalgia of the old days. And
yeah, absolutely. In terms of some of the movies we've spoken about, then, in terms of something like Kubo, which came out this year, have you seen Kubo and the Two Strings?
I have, but I don't remember McConaughey being in it. So
like I say, he plays the beetle character, who's like, there's two support animals on the way. There's the beetle and the monkey who support Kubo on his journey. So he plays that character. So that came out, which is interesting that he's had these two in the same year. Much less successful. So that had a 60 million budget and only made 78.
It's a stunning film, though. Creatively, it's a fantastic. Have you ever seen those like behind the scenes stop motion of like how they move the characters along?
It's amazing, isn't it?
So
and actually,
good.
It's a little bit what the last shot in this looks like. You know, when they're rebuilding the theatre, that almost looks quite stop motion, isn't it?
I only had a couple of notes watching when I was watching this, and my wife Ali also kind of commented on a bookend of like the animation, which is quite impressive. Is at the start when they're like zooming through the city, going from character to character. We both commented like that was a really interesting and well received like artistic decision, because you know, in these kind of montages you could just kind of hard cut or fade from like one to the other, or even like a, you know, George Lucas wipe to go from character to character. But like by zooming through the city, you get like a spatiality of the city, the hustle, the bustle, like everyone's on the grind, but it also connects the characters. They're all in the city together, all on their own little journeys. They're connected by this city, but yet they will be becoming more connected. So I think that whizzing around, it also shows some quite great like animation skill and technology to do that, because a lot of information. So there's that, which was quite sweet. And then at the end, this point that you say about when they're rebuilding the theater, and it is this like stop motion effect. Both like really great, welcome kind of animation techniques.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice, wasn't it? I hadn't thought about the bit at the start. Like, it's like a time lapse, isn't it? The bit at the end, the way that it pulls together. So it's a very deliberate kind of choice. It's really, really cool. And I like that sense that you're saying there of like this kind of interconnectivity. It almost gives it this sense of like these invisible lines that connect them all, isn't it? Like this sense of like there's an order in the chaos. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's really cool. So yeah, I just wondered about, you know, for McConaughey to have these two films out in the same year, where we felt like this was the financial success, but feels very safe by comparison to something like Kubo, where that's kind of the artistic, they're taking chances and pushing boundaries and trying to do something different. And sadly, kind of then is not as financially successful. It's quite an interesting kind of two-pronged.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's smart. I guess, like you say, if this is the era when, and a lot of actors do this, don't they? Like you were saying before, they're getting, their kids are getting to an age where they want to watch films, and I don't know if they necessarily want to watch their parents in films, but like, you want to make films that your kids will watch, right? And maybe it's, he's hedging his bets here. Go for it. And this is kind of like more of an Avengers kind of thing, right? Big actors, big music. It's going to put bums in the seats. But also he fancies himself an artist, so go the other way as well. Yeah, no, it's a good shout, because it's interesting that it also comes out the same year that Zootropolis does, or Zootopia, depending on, what. Yeah, that's weird that the different naming thing.
Yeah.
It really frustrates me when I'm trying to search for it on streaming services. And it doesn't show up, and then you've got to do the other one. It's like when you try and plug in a USB, it always takes 3 goes, right? It's like,
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
You try it the first time, it doesn't fit you. Turn it over, you try it the second time, it doesn't fit. Turn it back over to the original one, and then it goes in. It's like, that's what it's like trying to search for that film.
Yeah, good shout. I like that comparison. Yeah, absolutely. But that was obviously an absolute juggernaut, that one. That came out a few months before this. So that cost 150, I think, and made over $1 billion.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Why do you, I mean, this is maybe for season 3, but like, why do you think that became so big? Because it also they had a TV show as well that come out afterwards, didn't they? So
Oh, did it? I don't know that. Okay, so that's obviously had its own sequel since as well, hasn't it? Really recently. I know, but that was my question for us to talk about. Really was like, what was it about Zootropolis Zootopia that really caught on? Sing made half of its money, made over 600 million, more than half, I suppose. So still very, very successful financially, nearly 200 million in profit, I think, when all money's put together. And these totally kind of anthropomorphized, easy for me to say, worlds. It's really interesting. This is like, sometimes you get like Dante's Peak and Volcano comes out, and Armageddon and Deep Impact, and you get Zootropolis and you get Sing in the same year as well. It's quite an interesting time in animation where this is happening.
Yeah. Why do we think that? I mean, this is very much a certain type of film, right? Like you say, jukebox musical, so it's not going to be for everybody. People who enjoy the music, and I like that's quite good. The Zootopia film kind of has a bit more of a story, like buddy cop kind of thing. In terms of the anthropomorphic thing, it's really interesting, and I have a bit of a bugbear about this. It's especially like, with the Pixar films and things like that. Like when Soul came out, for example, right? Have you seen Soul?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so like jazz musician, it's really great, like quite an odd story to sell to kids, but like I love it, my family love it, but I get a bit cynical about these things because it's like the only way that they could really front a film with a black lead is if he spends most of the time as a cat.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like Elemental, it's kind of essentially about kind of mixed relationships and that type of thing, but they're elements, they're not humans. And so there's this thing of these films really look to be liberal, and there's a bit of like rainbow washing and stuff going on, right? But like ultimately they have to have a bit of abstraction to really be broad enough to make money.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
So I mean, I'm like I said, I'm being a bit cynical here. It's fun to see these different animals and stuff out there, but maybe they're just like really rolling the dice on trying to see what works. Yeah.
Wow, you've taken me to places I didn't think I'd go. That's really interesting. No, it sounds, and I think you're absolutely right. But it's, I think maybe I'm a bit too accepting of what's just been presented to me. I'm a bit too slow maybe to pick up on these things. I think it's a fascinating take on these movies because I'm getting the message, but without thinking about the deeper level, which is a really interesting point. And coming back to where we started, like that idea of Zootopia and Zootropolis, I guess, we've got a fox and a rabbit, right? Haven't we? So we've got these two characters that should be predator and prey and shouldn't be working together, and is mentioned in kind of the movie, isn't it, at times?
Yes. Yeah.
And I can see that being a kind of a catch for people as well as the more linear story, and as you mentioned, I don't want to just repeat your words, Becky, but like the buddy cop stuff and the classic narrative arc you get there. Whereas here, you're right, it's the story is so simple, but also there's lots of different elements, isn't there, that you have to move along with, and you have to kind of keep pace with, and you have to, I guess some people are really invested in one story. Maybe some people do really like the Mouse and they think he's brilliant, but they hate Mina the elephant. And I guess maybe that's the difficulty here with this story, is that you haven't got two such winning characters as you do in Zootopia that take you all the way through.
The buddy cop thing is like tried and tested, right?
Yeah, unmemorial. Yeah,
it's Lethal Weapon for kids.
Yeah. Oh, it really is. Yeah.
Whereas ensemble, it's a harder sell. Jukebox musical variety show like the Muppets, it's
And they never do well, those movies, do they? The Muppet movies. Sadly, they should. They should always do better. Other than that first one, when it first came back, they always struggle to...
Yeah. Well, you know, we tried to watch, I think a new show came out just recently, and we tried to put it on for the kids, and it was just like, it was a bit weird because in some ways, a few of the Muppet shows have been like this, where it's like, you don't know who they're really making it for, because some of the, like, there's lots of like innuendo and things like that, and it's a bit like lols for the adults, but then some of it's also quite juvenile as well, so it's, you can't, I don't know. And did you ever watch the one, the Mayhem one with the band?
No.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So is that focused on animal and
that band and
okay.
Yeah. It's better. It's better.
Yeah. I guess the other thing with Zootopia and Zootropolis and Muppets as well now, isn't it, is that these are all Disney, and they kind of come with just an inbuilt audience that will watch everything they bring out.
Yeah.
Whereas Sing is Illumination, who are still kind of building their brand at the point this comes out in 2016. We've had Despicable Me, maybe 1, 2, and 3, and maybe the first Minions movie.
Yeah.
But some of the other things, other than outside the Despicable Me world, slumped and didn't do very well, did they? So they were always cash cows. But I think until Sing came along, it was Despicable Me that was keeping them afloat. So perhaps it doesn't quite have that same inbuilt audience as well for the Sing movie.
That's right. Yeah. But although I think, especially for kids, they're not going to really know the difference, right? You see Billboard.
Yeah.
You know, it's I mean, you get adults are going to get more locked into the companies, I suppose.
But it's a generational thing, isn't it? Like I don't know whether you feel the same, but you know, like we were shown Disney films as kids, and then Pixar became a thing, and it's like, oh, I'm coming up watching Pixar and watching Aladdin, and you know that relaunch of Little Mermaid, you know that kind of new peak of Disney. And then you kind of echo that with your own kids, don't you? As you said with the music, we said before, and the franchises, like
nostalgia or pass on the traditions.
Yeah. Whereas nobody has that with Illumination. So maybe in another 20 years' time, this generation of kids will be like, oh, these are the people who made Minions. So I love those movies. Yeah.
I'm just looking through Illumination. They also did a couple of Seuss ones, like the Lorax and the Grinch. They also did the Mario Brothers movies.
Oh, the new ones, yeah.
Which also are quite like empty, you know? Like
I've not seen the sequel, but the first one was perfectly fine. But yeah, empty is the word for it. It's bright colors and fast movement, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Sugar Rush movies, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sing. I don't know. Is there much else to say? I mean, we don't need to worry about the plot. I think what we have said covers it. McConaughey's good. He is right for the role, but perhaps I'm not too convinced he's right for a koala. I definitely don't think he's got chlamydia. Although I hear he does like to get stoned, so he's halfway there. Yeah, good shout.
What animal would you? Yeah.
So I did see an interview with him where he said his son told him he's a penguin, but I don't see that either. I don't think penguin's right for him either. What would McConaughey be? Maybe more of like a llama? We do get a llama in this, actually. Maybe it's something that's a bit more...
I wonder about like maybe a meerkat. Like,
okay, yeah.
Like a Timon kind of meerkat. Because he's kind of... Yeah. I'm thinking about his, dazed and confused kind of haircut and the kind of...
Yeah. The Texas thing, I just think of like, kind of animals that live in, dusty, sandy.
Right.
We're both in the same ballpark, aren't we?
We watched Rango recently, and the boys really loved that. Johnny Depp. Yeah, maybe something like a lizard of some sort.
Yeah.
But then maybe that's not fluffy and cuddly. Like I do feel like Buster Moon, like McConaughey, yes, but Buster Moon feels very fluffy.
Yeah, I think I'd like a cuddle from McConaughey. McConaughey cuddle. I think it would be quite a nice experience. That, yeah. I think that'd be a very warming experience. I think I'd feel very uplifted after getting a McConaughey cuddle. What about yourself then? Now, here's the question: if you were an anthropomorphized, I can't say that word clearly, animal, what's Blake as an animal? Was a cartoon animal?
In the Sing world, Yeah, I feel like one of the gorillas. I like that. I like the hair.
Yeah,
especially Johnny's hair, like the little tuft, or like one of the bears, I suppose. Maybe like a furry thing, but like a smaller one. Like a beaver or something like that.
Yeah, because you're not a bad guy. In no way are you one of those, Russian mafioso bears.
Yeah. I really liked the squids. Maybe I'd be one of the thousands of squids that were in there.
That's amazing that both those scenes, actually, the animation of the lighting up squids, the neon squids is
it was fantastic. Yeah, that was in my notes as well, just that whole scene. Like, there are a few moments that kind of just take your breath away. And the water animation when it all kind of floods out into the street, I thought that was really quite good.
Yeah, really, I was really enjoying it. Yeah, absolutely. But then something jumped into my head and I couldn't get it out again. It didn't ruin it for me, but I don't know if you've ever seen the music video for Deeper Underground by Jamiroquai.
No, I don't think so.
It was for the Godzilla movie, the bad one that came out years and years ago. But he's dancing around in his Jamiroquai style. I don't know if this is an artist that you know.
I do. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So he's got a very like kind of that style of movement that he does, but it's in a flooded, destroyed movie theater.
Right.
There was just a certain point where all the water's rushing through the seats, and it just popped into my head, and then I couldn't get it back out again. So it didn't in any way ruin it at all. But maybe it's a little project for yourself and any listeners if they fancy going and watching that music video after listening to the episode. So
I think I will.
Yeah. See what I'm talking about.
Yeah. What would you be?
Yeah. See, I knew you'd ask that, and I thought I should probably prepare an answer, but I haven't at all. What would I be? Something that is what's like a good animal that I'm just a homeboy really, and I don't mean that in like a cool way, as in like I like to be at home. So something that like builds a den and then is happy being in their den. I think is me. Yeah, maybe like a badger. Maybe I quite like to be a badger.
Yeah. What would your song be or your genre if you were?
Oh, that's good.
Concert.
What was that? What would it? I mean, like indie rock is my go-to.
Yeah.
So kind of
indie rock.
Yeah, so, something like Muse or Biffy Clyro, or if I'm putting something on, it's that. But why not go what?
Yeah.
Put on. I mean, I can't sing at all, so Christ, feel sorry for everybody. But so maybe something where I can shout a bit more. I'll tell you what I'd be a badger doing a Green Day or a Linkin Park track. There you go.
Yeah, I can see that. That would be great. Yeah. Sing 3 maybe, there's always time.
Yeah, why not? So come on then, what's your song?
Well, I feel like it would be maybe, I like all sorts of stuff, but for my beaver character, maybe it would be like a funk thing. I can imagine like beavers like gnawing away. Maybe the beaver was part of the theatre falling apart.
Oh,
gnawing away in the background, and then it stops and then just does some cool James Brown funk thing.
I like that because you know how Ash gets the crowd going with with the stomping. You've got the tail, haven't you? So you're slapping your beaver tail. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, you're your own like one man band. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lovely. Got some time for some letterbox reviews before I get your final thoughts.
Cool,
bro. Okay, I've just got a couple tonight, and I've tried to go 2 ends of the scale. Do you want to start positive or negative?
Let's go negative.
All right, this is the positive one's really long, and I'll do my best to try. I'm going to cut some out because it's too long, but I like some of the things it says in it. All right, so Blankman says, Sing is a dreadful film. Annoying on so many levels and insulting on just as many. It's the epitome of what is wrong with a lot of animation today. The animation itself is passable, with each musical number being done in the most boring way imaginable. McConaughey's koala character is possibly the least likable lead in any major animated film in memory. He constantly manipulates while being frequently hypocritical on his viewpoint on the arts and theatre. The fact that the other characters frequently validate his views hurts, and expecting our sympathies to inherently lie with him is a mistake. Overly bloated and with absolutely horrendous music and storytelling, Sing should be avoided at all costs. It's obnoxious in every sense of that word, and when there are actually other great musicals out in theatres, both animated and live action, seeing Sing would be a horrible mistake.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
That stings.
Oh, I like that, yeah.
It's quite harsh, but there's like not a lot of like examples why, like the reason, like it's obnoxious. It's I don't know. I'm not on board with that one. I feel like someone's been quite hurt there and is lashing out.
Do you think maybe there's a song in there that's been covered that they particularly love, or there's an animal they identify with that's not been presented properly?
Yeah, maybe they're like a biologist or someone who works with koalas or something. And it's just like koalas are not this exuberant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I get a bee in my bonnet about things, and it sounds like maybe this person has as well.
Yeah, fair.
Maybe the bee was singing something as well, some horrible music as well.
Yeah. All right, let's go positive then. So Justin says, call me crazy, but I think Sing is an exceptional family movie that reminds me of a large cast Robert Altman film mashed up with American Idol and set in Zootopia. All right, this is the one. Maybe I'll do some editing here because, like I said, I'm going to cut some bits out.
Yeah, whatever you think is relevant, go for it.
Yeah. I know this Illumination animal singing competition movie gets a lot of hate, but personally I love it. And it makes me smile each time my family and I sit down to enjoy it and crank up the volume. Sure, it is jam-packed with silly moments geared towards making the kiddos laugh, but I also feel that it blends the stories of these characters from different walks of life together so well as they work to pursue their dreams. Hats off to McConaughey for how he transformed into this fast-talking wannabe greatest showman Buster Moon with all that personality packed into this koala bear. It's fun how the movie plays off on the different sizes of these animals, like how Moon is small enough to sleep in his office desk drawer. Plus, I adore his whatever it takes mentality and his love for the arts. And now I'm going to skip to the end. Despite Sing being a cutesy kids film filled with cliches and pop culture references, I think it is crafted remarkably well and is filmed with plenty of heart and style. I would be highly surprised if the sequel is able to duplicate its magic, which is obviously to be continued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, it's really interesting when they say, call me crazy. Like, I haven't really like looked into the kind of the wider thoughts around this film or reviews or anything like that. But yeah, I never realized it got so much hate. I can see like from the first review, I can say that Buster Moon or McConaughey's depiction of him could be a bit of a Marmite character. I get that. But with this review saying like, oh yeah, sure, it's got lots of moments in there to make the kids laugh, like as if that's a bad thing. Like, yeah. I don't expect Orson Welles or like Lars von Trier or something like that when I'm watching an animated film with my kids, but like, it kind of just does what it says on the tin, really, I suppose. And so,
yeah. I think that the harsh review is less in keeping with general like views of the film. You know, it's got 7.1 on IMDb. It's got 3 points. So that's out of 10. Obviously, it's got 3.2 on Letterboxd. I don't really look into Rotten Tomatoes, if I'm honest. I don't really buy into the way that they rate their movies. But so generally speaking, where it's got like audience participation scores, which seem a bit more reasonable, it's hovering around that kind of, it's entertaining, but it's not giving me anything I didn't expect. And I'm glad to have watched it as a family experience movie.
I feel like I get cynical, like I said at the start of this episode, I get cynical about the kind of films that my kids watch, and I'm a bit protective of them about that. Like, some stuff can be really like vapid, and I'm still kind of like scratching my head in like these woke days, you know, quote unquote, like that. There's still films that have quite bad messages. So for this to be a film, like if the criticism of this film is that it's broad and just not giving a lot of depth or whatever, like I think the fact that has the themes that we talked about like trying your best and teamwork and coming together for something to create something artistic, and it's got like 60 odd like great tunes from across a whole bunch of decades. I think that's pretty good, to be honest. Yeah, it's all good intentions, and as you said, there's a couple of moments where there's really high level animation in it, whilst the rest is giving you exactly kind of what you expect from this kind of movie. Yeah. So although you're not a seasoned McConaughey kind of watcher, in terms of where you think this would lie in his career, is it something that you think
is a classic, or do you think it's something that, it's worth catching with a family, or really do you think because of what he's more known for, this is something that is kind of for completists only? You knew the question was coming.
Yeah, I did. And I've been thinking about it as well. Like, let me go around the houses a little bit.
Please, yeah. Take your time.
So, like, I'm just not a rom-com guy. So if I was going to say to anyone, you have to watch, how many different categories were there? There's 3, aren't there? Like, must see.
So classic, worth catching, completist only.
Worth catching, completist only. So if you had to split his whole filmography into thirds, I would say this is definitely in the classics. It's nothing really like what he's done before, like with the stoner stuff, the rom-com stuff, the reconnaissance stuff. It's not really indicative of what he does. So, but yeah, if you like that stuff, you don't necessarily need to catch this. But for me and for my family, and if I were to watch a third of his stuff, it would be a classic.
Yeah, you'd want this to be in there. And let's face it, he's got 3 animated movies. This is probably the one of the 3, without having seen Sing 2, that, financially success-wise, it's the one that most people seem to come back to. Not that we have to justify your score. Your score is your score. And the fact that you've got a great journey with your family watching this and that it's meaningful to you, and for the reasons that you explained, like if you're only going to watch, so he's got 53 movies currently, there'll be 54 pretty soon when the next one comes out. So if you're only going to watch, 18 of those movies, I'm not good at maths. Hopefully that's about right.
That's about right to me. Yeah.
You'd want Sing to be one of them.
Yeah. I think I would.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you so much. And we'll find out what you think about Sing 2 when you are back to discuss the sequel.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and that'll be a first watch for me. So I'll be interested to see how it develops, or it stays the same, or like who they rotate in and who they rotate out. That's going to be really interesting, I think.
Yeah, I hadn't realized until tonight that you haven't seen it, so I'm super interested to kind of hear what you think about it.
And I'm guessing it follows on the jukebox musical theme.
Yeah.
Shall we briefly discuss whilst we're there Sing Thriller as well?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Not that we have to, but I think that's a little short that came out, didn't it, to celebrate Halloween a couple of years ago. So maybe we'll touch upon that and think about how they're leading into kind of this third one you were talking about, which is coming out. What did you say? 2027? It's coming out.
That's right. And I know nothing about it. I don't know if there's any promotional stuff about it, but yeah, we can talk about that.
Brilliant. Great to see you, mate.
And you. Thanks for having me on.
I won't sing this outro, as no one deserves that. But I will sing Blake's praises, as he brought a lot of insight to a bright, but broad, in one ear and out the other animation. I really look forward to his return to discuss the sequel. My thanks to you too, listeners, for your continued support, engagement and participation as we journey on through the reconnaissance. That was Sing. Next up in a fortnight, I'm going to be joined by Marco Guy to discuss Eminem's performance as Kenny Wells and Stephen Gargan's Gold for those that are watching along. Until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
Cut.